I feel like art history wise, I like Dolly, the surreal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
classic. And then I liked Egon Schiele for a while. He was Gustav Klimt's the guy who did the Kiss, the famous
Mm-hmm.
Kiss painting. That was his apprentice, but
Oh,
he
okay.
almost did a darker turn kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so his work is similar but different to Gustav. Like you can see some aspects that are similar, but it his artwork's more like found colors almost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think Brandon ran off to do something real quick.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Um, so what is your favorite part about being an artist? And what is the biggest challenge?
Oh, probably like I'm gonna start with the challenge first. Probably like finding the balance. Because I think the challenge and the reward of being an artist are like
Mm,
the same thing, kind of just like
mm,
finding that balance of like for me, art's a coping mechanism, but it could also be a profession if I choose for it to be.
right.
Um, so finding that sweet spot of like still making the work you want to create, but also not taking away from like I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like I just think it's a balance. Because
Balance between doing art for yourself and doing art for essentially money.
yeah, like doing art for others versus yourself, like just finding that balance and
Just like
just
a life work balance, kind of almost.
yeah,
A little more complicated for artists though than just simply life work.
yeah, like it bleeds into itself kind of like it's like you
Yeah.
take work at home if you're an artist too. Like I'm finding that with tattooing because I do have like clientele and stuff, and then
Mhm.
I'll leave the shop, the tattoo shop, and I'll still be answering people till like nine.
Oh yeah, the business stuff.
Yeah, it's like the business follows. So it's the same thing with artists in like any field, I feel like. So it's rewarding to be able to be like paid to do the work that you love to do, but it's
Mm.
also it's difficult to balance if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And Brandon, who are some artists that you kind of look up to or are influenced by, either from art history or contemporary artists, or even people in the scene, or people
Uh,
you know, people you grew up with, even?
the actually people I grew up with would be my brother.
Okay,
He's a graphic design artist now, and
cool.
it's his like mine works in a different way where everything's really structured and
Hmm.
really clean looking and everything's even. And I kind of came at art the other way where it's just kind of sloppy until it looks good. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
but yeah, he was an inspiration when I was growing up.
Hmm.
Art history, I did a lot of research. Actually, what the reason I got up was to grab a book, which was like
Oh, okay.
uh, this is a style like Soga Shohaku, which is
Uh-huh.
artists in Japan, and I just really like kind of that era of the Japanese art because they closed themselves off to the rest of the world, and so they
Okay.
for like hundreds of years they were just making art kind of in a bubble, and
What
so
era are you talking about? Like what?
it's the Edo period in Japan
Okay.
where Soga Shohaku like that's during the time that he lived, and
Okay.
everything just is so different. Like the way they show water is with hard lines and
Mm.
the structure of the body kind of doesn't make sense in a way that during the same time that like European art kind of knew the anatomy, they didn't. So
Mm. Mm.
it has this like weird character looking kind of wrong, but also it's like the character of that type of art, which I really liked because it was when I was doing like the Japanese art, it was really hard for me to do because I understood like the anatomy and then I had to understand kind of how to do it wrong. But like
Mm.
to actually like embody that type of style of artwork. And so I studied a lot of, or like I just looked at a lot of Soga Shaku's work, which was probably my favorite artist in the past. And then artist now I really like. I think his name's like Casey Bogue. Uh, that's what I just followed him on Instagram.
Mm.
But but he does these portraits where if you look really closely, they're like blurry. There's not super detailed, but not even from a far distance. So like you just take a step back and it looks like a photo. And I don't get how he does it. I think is one of the reasons why I really like it.
Yeah.
Just the accuracy of his color and where to like place structure and color is really just well done. And like it's something that like I want to be able to do, but I can't do that. And so I think that's why I really like him. I've just been looking at his stuff a lot recently, trying to figure out how he does it.
Do you find yourself like I don't know, looking up to, or I don't know, admiring art because you don't know how they did it? Is that like
Yeah, I really
kind of like a factor or major? I don't know.
Yeah, I think when I see a work of art, and a lot of times I try and like imagine like kind of where they were sitting and like how they were doing it, and then if I could see something where I have no clue like how they were able to pull off it, I end up staring at it for a lot longer trying to just figure it out. And it's a lot more fun for me to see stuff like that. Like it makes my mind start going and try and figure stuff out.
The Creative Buzz podcast is sponsored by Thumbprint Gallery. Thumbprint Gallery was founded in 2009. We curate monthly and pop-up art exhibitions featuring emerging mid-career and established artists with a focus on contemporary, pop culture, nostalgia, urban art, and pop surrealism. The gallery seeks to provide an eclectic and engaging atmosphere to view art by bringing people together in appreciation and support of local, national, and international artists.